Welcome to the Optimized podcast from Prescribe Fit, where we explore the intersection of orthopedics, lifestyle health, and virtual care strategies to optimize patient outcomes and private practice success. Join us to hear from industry experts as we dive into the tools, technologies, and approaches shaping the future of orthopedic care.
Hi, listeners. Welcome to the Optimized podcast. I'm your host, Brock Leonti. This podcast is for clinicians, industry, and orthopedic and healthcare professionals. I am joined today by Nichole Alley, a seasoned healthcare executive with expertise in healthcare operations and revenue cycle management. Today, we'll explore leadership strategies for integrating ancillary services, navigating new technologies, and ensuring private practices remain profitable while prioritizing patient needs. Plus, we'll get her full perspective on the future of healthcare administration and the financial strategies critical for success in a rapidly evolving industry. Welcome, Nichole.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
Very good.
Good. So just to start, would you mind giving us some background on yourself for the listeners?
Yeah, so I am the practice administrator for Orthopedics East. We're a private practice with 9 doctors right now, but we're adding a few more. We just had a couple retire, several and some ancillary services on site. I also teach at the College of Business here in Greenville, North Carolina. I teach professional development and ethical leadership, background in HR, retail management, service management, but for the last 8 years have been in healthcare.
That's great. And you have your MBA too, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very
Yeah.
impressive. Very impressive. And now you're giving back by teaching students the things that you learned
Yeah,
before.
it's great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Excellent. So you have a diverse background spanning healthcare operations, everything that you just mentioned there, leadership, nonprofit leadership. So what inspired you to pursue a career at the intersection of healthcare and patient care at the practice?
So early in my career, I've been in management for a long time, a little over 30 years now, and have always been interested in just helping. And when I found the opportunity to move into the healthcare management, it was a little tough to get in. If you don't come from healthcare, that's where most leadership comes up from. So it was a little tough to get in. But once I got in, it combines my skills of profit and loss management, inventory management, customer service with actually being able to help in a bigger sense versus let me get you a washer and dryer or a TV today.
Sure.
So transitioning into healthcare from the retail side, from management was actually a lot easier than you would think.
Yeah.
A little bit different on the revenue cycle side, but the overall concept of running a practice is very similar to running an organization that focuses on customer service.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you're looking at that and operating daily and all the tasks that you have to do and the thoughts that you have to put towards the strategy path forward, planning, you're balancing clinical excellence and operational efficiency. So how do you approach that challenge on a daily basis?
Yeah, so it's really a matter of surrounding yourself with a team that knows what they're doing and guiding the team in the same direction. The old saying, get everybody in the right seat on the right bus that's going in the right direction. Because I don't come from the clinical side, it's a lot of learning on my part, but it's also relying heavily on my clinical experts in the building, forcing the docs to sit in on safety meetings, on customer service meetings, or getting our providers involved so I can see that healthcare side, but also running it like a business that's focused on customer satisfaction, which happens to be patients in this situation. So ultimately, it's communication,
Yeah.
making sure everybody sees the vision, we all understand where we're going, and we all get there at the same time.
Yeah. That's very interesting. So the customer service aspect of that, there's been the age old, I feel like for a while, a topic on consumerism in healthcare and whether or not are patients really consumers, should they be treated that way, or is it more healthcare focused, right? Which still deals with customer service and making sure that they have a good experience, but it's a different approach there. So that's great that you take that approach, which is more on the customer service side.
Yeah, I think for a long time, healthcare was just like, it's healthcare. And so by default, we give this air of whatever they do is correct. I think that's always been it. I'm older. I think I still do that.
Mhm.
But as we transition and as all these other options for care are out there and as society changes, I do think if you don't put the effort into the customer service side of it, uh, the outcomes aren't even as great. A patient feeling like they matter ultimately comes down to that customer service side.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. So today we're going to stop here, just ask our unique question. So each time I'll be asking a unique question that exercises opinion, but is rooted in a fact. So today's question for you, Nichole, is if you had to choose between getting an extra hour of sleep every night or exercising an extra 30 minutes per day, which would you pick? And then what do you think has the bigger impact on your health?
I would probably say more sleep. I know that sleep is very important and exercising is great, but you can squeeze in exercising all over the place. And it's really hard to squeeze in an extra hour of sleep in a day. And I do know personally, I feel a lot better if I get a full night of sleep. And it's not just going to bed earlier or waking up later. Sometimes it's my quality of sleep. I know it affects me personally. So I would say sleep.
That's great. And so I would choose the opposite, pick exercise. I've always valued and exercise all the time. In fact, there's a time where I had COVID and I set up a gym in my garage just so I could continue exercising and continue going through that. And but that was a while back. So the fact of the matter is you're right, it is sleep. So it's best for recovery, for functional nature in your cognitive sense and metabolism and all that. So sleep deprivation could lead to several different types of things that come out that are negative for your health. So that's the right answer. So,
Nice, nice.
yeah.
Well, I think most of the professionals I know, we always talk about we don't get enough sleep.
Yeah.
There's not enough hours in the day. We're very go. So I think extra sleep would help everybody.
There you go. So switching over to operational excellence and practice management. So this kind of topic here, which is probably on your mind pretty much daily as you go through deciding on what to do next or what's important priority. So you oversee multiple facets of healthcare operations, HR, finance, IT, compliance. What are some key strategies for running a seamless and patient focused practice?
Well, I think technology is a big factor, and it's not just focused on the efficiency that it can bring, but the reporting. When I took over this practice, we were on a system that was very document based. And so when I started looking at things, I was like, how can I make it more seamless and efficient for our patients? Right. Because I don't want them to have to fill out a paper at home and then come in and wait for us to enter it or answer more questions because we didn't get it entered quick enough. So sometimes that technology, which is a pain to change into, can actually help make the whole visit quicker. They can get their records quicker. They can get the answers quicker. We know right away, especially with the clear pricing. So we can see it faster. Everything's faster. From a business operations standpoint, that reporting function is really important. So you can see your gaps. You can see, where are my patients waiting the longest?
Mm,
Where are we having the most errors? What are we seeing our patients for? And how can we help them? Obviously, we want to help patients, but we're one of the few industries where we don't want repeat customers.
mhm.
So, okay, we're seeing a lot of ankle rolls. So could we put something out that tells people how to protect their ankles? So I think that data that comes with upgrading all of your systems to a technology base is extremely important to make you more efficient and make the experience easier.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that goes back to, you mentioned waiting several times, the customer experience, customer service there in healthcare. For someone that's waiting, that is a big displeaser there. And that's known to
Right. And sometimes it's people's perception of waiting. The person who's sitting
sure.
behind the desk who's taking care of patients, their 30 seconds is very different than the patient who's standing in line for 30 seconds. Those
Yeah,
30 seconds are very different.
sure.
So 30 seconds is wishing for the best, but the understanding the data will help you versus somebody's perception of people waiting.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. So in revenue cycle management, RCM, it's a major challenge in healthcare, especially at private practices, right? You're looking at the dollars coming in and you want to make sure you collect as much as possible. That's something that you'd be, directly responsible for, you and your team. So what best practices have you found for optimizing financial operations while maintaining patient accessibility?
Yeah, so I'll switch into the main part from the revenue incoming, but I never discount the money outgoing. So controlling your expenses is extremely important. I don't know if that is always top of mind for healthcare leaders. I know in my transition from retail and service, that conversation not nearly happens as often in healthcare as it did on that side of the world. So making sure your expenses are under control and understanding that piece is important. As far as the revenue, I've been in a lot of meetings, a lot of conversations about battling reimbursement rates, and we're not big enough to
Mhm.
battle, right? And so you've got options to partner with people, but our philosophy at our practice, and I think it's most important, is just find out what our patients are currently needing
Mhm.
and where they're getting it. And they're usually having to spend money to get whatever their need is and try to offer it in-house. And so it's not like trying to get more money out of the patients or more money out of the payers, but just trying to make all of their care in-house. So bringing in partners that can help you with the stuff your patients might need,
Mhm.
that could bring in other streams of revenue. So it's like a variation on ancillary services.
Sure. Yeah, that's very important to have. Plus, then it expands your menu of services you can offer and gives them a better experience too. So,
Right, exactly.
yeah. So, the healthcare industry ever changing, rapidly evolving. How do you ensure your practice stays ahead in technology and compliance and operational efficiency and technology and all that?
Constantly
Okay.
learning.
Mhm.
So listening to podcasts, listening to other providers, other administrators, reading news articles, staying up on it, and looking outside of the box. I don't just pay attention to orthopedic leaders.
Mhm.
I'm looking at the whole industry of healthcare. And then sometimes you have to look at other industries as well and just stay abreast. And then importantly is really have a good system to get feedback from your patients and honest feedback and asking them, talk to your providers. What are you sending our patients out for? What are your patients' hiccups? How can you meet them where they're at?
Yeah,
And if you can't do it yourself, find a partner that can help you with it.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I know Prescribe Fit is one of the partners. We had an issue where we had a lot of patients who were asking for healthy lifestyles, weight loss, and it was struggling because they weren't eligible for surgeries
Mhm.
because of their BMIs. And so then we couldn't hire someone who could do nutrition counseling. At the time, it was a struggle to hire more providers. And so having a partner that can fit that gap, that can help the patient,
Mhm.
and then it's just a seamless circle and they come in and have success for what the patient needs makes it better for us. So yeah, there's a little bit of revenue in there, but the whole point is to make it a better experience for our patient.
Mhm. Yeah, and we thank you for being a customer of Prescribe Fitness client, so it's great.
And right, but it fits into the philosophy of what do your patients need and how can you offer it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's meeting them where they are and what their requests are too, so that's
Correct. Yeah.
great. So, when you look at the financial challenges facing practices today, how can they remain profitable while prioritizing patient care? If you were to give advice to a practice out there, how do you look at that to say, "Hey, here's good patient care, but we also know that you need to have a profit." So, what does that mix look like or advice and suggestion?
Yeah, it's with healthcare, you don't ever want to think of again a way to get more money because even though it's rooted in insurance reimbursement rates, the patient still takes a hit. So
Mhm,
really, if you can focus on how do we help the patient more efficiently, quicker, and then offer them what they need in house. So if you're sending your patients out to Walgreens to pick up some biofreeze, is
mhm,
there a way you can sell it in your practice?
okay.
If you're printing off a shoe insole, can you offer it to them? Right? If you're sending them out to find a nutritionist, but they can't get anywhere, can you partner with someone to bring it in? So it's really there's the revenue side of it, but it's rooted in the patient care. It's not like what else can I do to get more revenue? It's more of the patients are going to be spending this money anyway. How can we make it cost effective and efficient for them so they can just get it all to here and then go and then be okay?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So those are ancillaries that you mentioned there. They become a valuable addition to orthopedic care and to the practice. And so,
Mhm.
when you look at that and you make a choice and you're looking at these comparison charts or you're searching the web or talking to others at conferences or however you find out about the services, how do you determine which ones to integrate? How do they contribute to your overall vision and then to make sure that they also sustain good financial sustainability and patient care and all that? What's your decision-making process to determine that?
Yeah, it's definitely several boxes you have to check. So, is the partner recognized for what they do? Do they have the same philosophy of patient care as you? Do you have a good line of sight to listen to their patient care, hear their patient care if you're going to partner with someone else who's going to do something?
Mhm.
Then don't just do it because it's a possible revenue stream. Really research your patients. Do they need this? You don't want to force something on them that they wouldn't be utilizing anyway. how do you work it out? And there's got to be a positive on all the factors. If it could bring you in money, but your patients don't actually need it,
Hmm.
probably not a good fit. If your patients need it and it could bring you in revenue, but their level of patient care and their quality of service is not up to your standard, it's going to hurt your care. So it's like this metric of, is this the right fit? And do it when you find the right partner and the right fit. And that's a great avenue to go on.
Yeah, there's almost, as I listen to that, high level an alignment of value that you have, or values within the internal aspects of both companies that you want to make sure are congruent, are that really, you could see that vision forward in a way that is advantageous then, and also fits within your culture of the practice too, which you want to.
Right, right. And so there's some partners that have come, and no offense to them, I won't name them, but sometimes they come and they're like, we can increase your surgical patient,
Hmm.
right? Because that's the world of orthopedic surgery. That's not our goal. That's not our doctor's goal.
Hmm.
And so if a surgery happens, then it's required, but it's more of like
Yep.
patient care, and surgery is an outcome that sometimes is utilized.
Hmm.
But one of the things I really liked about Prescribe when we talked about it, it was one of the examples where they were like, I was like, some of our patients, they're on the surgical track, their BMI is too high. They've utilized the services and come back, and because they've lost weight, they don't need surgery
Hmm.
anymore. And that is also a win.
Hmm.
And so it's this mix of, that's not the point of it. We're not going to help your patients lose weight so you can have surgery.
Hmm.
We're just going to help them with a healthier lifestyle to make them healthier, so possibly don't need it, right? And some still need it, of course. There's some things that don't have anything to do with weight, but it's that making sure the value that you care about in your practice and your providers care about, your partner cares about as well.
Hmm. That's great. That's great. So switching gears a little bit. So patient
Yeah.
care, engagement experiences, beyond healthcare administration, you serve on the board of Riley's Amy, which supports children with cancer and their families. That's so good. So kudos to you for that.
Riley's Army.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. So what drew you to the cause?
So I actually had a business professional friend who was the executive director of it, and they had an opening on their board for the treasurer. And this was years ago, probably 2021, maybe 2020, 2021. And gosh, I think it was 2020. So I think it's been like 5 years now.
Mm.
And she knew my capabilities. And so I was able to meet the board and join. And it's got physicians on there. Riley, who the Army is named after, is the daughter of two local physicians who are primary care providers, which our docs have a partnership with. Great. And then there's other community members. And it's just a way to give back and use my skill set to help a nonprofit be more successful. And I'm really drawn to anything that really cares about the community and supporting people that might need it.
What a selfless thing to do. And that's really great. So as you look at that, how does that impact your work and your perspective on leadership and service and the things you even do daily at Orthopedics East?
I don't know if it affects my work or if in general it guides how I decide my work.
Okay.
Because I've always been that person that wants to feel like I'm doing good. And so it was a primary driver for me to switch over from retail into healthcare. Because not that retail is bad, I really enjoy retail. People really need stuff. But when you switch over to healthcare, they also need healthcare. And then being able to support a nonprofit that really cares, the whole point of it is to help others. And then even teaching, like all of it fills it's not altruistic. It absolutely fills my bucket of, I'm being impactful, I'm helping
Mhm.
versus I'm just doing.
Mhm.
So they all intersect and help me develop as a leader in the different boxes.
Yeah. Right. That's great. That's great. So as patient care being at the heart of every successful practice, what strategies have been most effective in improving patient satisfaction and engagement at Orthopedics East?
Obviously, surveys. We watch those. We look at the good and the bad. Obviously, we have a lot of good. We have some really great reviews, but even the bad ones, even if we don't agree with them or feel like maybe this was an opportunity, it's very eye opening to watch. We also do monthly. I make every manager be a test patient. And we have to walk through the processes. If we change a process, if we change a team, you have to be a patient for a day and kind of walk through how it feels. How does it feel to sit in the lobby? How does it feel to talk about my health care at the desk? How does it feel waiting in the room by myself till the doctor comes in? How does it feel at checkout? So just as managers, we're constantly thinking of it from that side. And we have a great staff that when they choose to, they are of course not required to, but if we offer them to give us feedback on their experience when they're actually patient. And so when they have to go through all the processes, they can tell us, and that opens our eyes quite a bit.
Mm.
And just being willing to alter the line at the front,
Mhm.
to alter the layout of the room, to alter where we're having conversations, how we're delivering a message. All of that stuff is important. Those small changes do make, when you put them all together, they make a big impact. And sometimes people forget that sometimes little things all put together are just as huge as building a new building.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty innovative and pretty unique there. I feel like I can't say that despite have talked to hundreds of practices and practice leaders, thousands of leaders there, your thought behind that is very unique and it's encouraging. From the patient's perspective, you really get you to know what they're experiencing. Your leaders then and your managers have that too. So they feel the pain of sitting there. They feel the advantage of moving from one room to the next and doing from one service to maybe from imaging to PT and understanding kind of what that transition process is like.
And it's like, do I know what's happening next? Is someone communicating with me? So it
Sure.
really just opens the whole team's eyes of how we can alter slightly to make that experience better. And I'd love to take credit, but that is 100% from my retail days.
Mm.
Like that's a normal thing, like be a customer for a while, see how it feels. So I just brought it over.
Right. Yeah, that's the way to do it. So there's a lot of moving parts. And I feel like when you're in practice as a patient, you begin to feel like a number at sometimes, and this really then would change that perspective. So when you look at it from your staff side too, quite possibly one of the biggest dissatisfiers is just overabundance of different workflows and burdensome workflows. So that has to reduce that as well. So that's a great way to look at it. When you foster an environment that really promotes just improved operations, I think you get a better result. So when you look at it from the staff side, though, how do you foster a culture of compassionate, patient-centered care among your team? What kind of things do you do there, the HR side?
Yeah, it definitely starts with recruiting. Your job description should have it in there. Every step of the way for interviews should be talking about it. At the offer, it should be discussed that as part of it in the training. And then following up very quickly. Have realized like switching industries, right? Um, Especially being newer to the practice and having some other people focused in healthcare, I think sometimes we focus on the skill set, which is very important, especially in certain jobs that you need that. Kind of where I think we've shifted it is all of my leadership team. The very first part of the interview is about cultural fit. Do you feel engaged when you're talking to this person? Are they smiling when they came in the front desk? Even the front desk knows when a candidate comes in to give feedback to the manager of how that person approached the desk. All of that is important in talking it through and then holding people accountable when we mess up, right? And that includes me. If I'm not looking correct in front of a bunch of patients, someone's allowed to call me out, right?
Mm.
And so we're all keeping ourselves up by at least once a week, do at least a 4-hour shift at the front desk, at least a 2-hour shift supporting the clinic. I am not a medical assistant. I don't know anything, but I can help and run. So
Mhm.
they see that I'm down there as well. And same with my leadership team. They all have to do it too. And they're emulating what good customer service is. And I think if you focus on that, the skill I can teach all sorts of stuff. We can teach a lot of the things, especially if they already have the education, but it has to be a constant thing for everyone. It can't just be a poster on the wall. It can't just be one training. It's a constant, and it really stems from customer service. Patient care is very important, but customer service is hand in hand with it. So it's just always helping them and talking them through how to be better at it and what it feels like. So
That's great. Really brings it full circle for a comprehensive viewpoint from all your team members on what the experience is like for the patients and the practice culture is like. So when you look at the future of healthcare administration, innovation, looking ahead, what trends or innovations do you see shaping the future of healthcare practice management?
So for one, I really do think they should put a focus on customer service, right? And skill is important, but customer service too. Make sure everyone is focused on that patient as a consumer because that matters. And it can affect how they feel about their provider, about their experience, about their surgery, better outcome, right?
Mhm.
The other piece is really technology, AI. They're happening whether we like it or not. And find ways to utilize it. Make sure you're willing to change if needed. Don't change too quickly. Get yourself well versed in change management. It is painful. Get everyone on board as early as possible if you can with any change coming through. But I think really focusing on the technology that's coming out, that's being talked about, that's being tested. I know AI plays a big part and there's different sides of it. And again, it's coming whether we like it or not. So get yourself well versed in it. So when it's time to utilize or know why not to utilize, you have all the data.
Gosh, I agree with you completely on the AI front. Just at the start of this year, we used ChatGPT and we put in a custom GPT and several of those in a workspace for Prescribe Fit for all of our leaders to use. And it has just accelerated the efficiency in what we do. We're no longer writing up policies or procedures or things that we would do normally in the day of a professional behind a desk, but you're now focused on taking what's produced, editing that some, because there's still a ways to go for it to be
Right.
100%, right? And
Right.
then executing on it. So it now has actually built us up to work at a higher level rather than think about it, go back down to the weeds, write it up or figure it out or that kind of stuff, and then go back up and implement it. I feel like now you're just operating at a little bit higher. And I only see that just increasing over the years too.
For marketing, like, okay, I need 12 copy headlines. There's several options there for meetings. I need this to record it so I can get my bullet points. And I know it gets tricky when it comes to healthcare because you don't want to go too much to where
Mhm.
you don't have that patient. See what your patients want and need. Or implemented an AI help desk on our HR side.
Yeah.
So people could ask HR, which is all the policies that we already have. We just loaded them up and this system does it.
Yeah.
There's probably in the future going to be one for patient that you could utilize. So it's like, you can't be scared of it. Know what you're ready for. But I think
Yeah.
just staying abreast of that change is important.
Yeah. We're definitely not ready for it to replace a physician or a clinician.
No, no, not at all. Although I've seen some talks out there about it. So
Yeah.
you just gotta, so again, I try to pay as much attention as possible, read as much as I can. But even if there was an option, I know our patients and they would not like it.
Yeah.
So
True.
that wouldn't be something, even if it was an option that we would want to go to until our patients told us we want this.
Right. And that does align with a lot of the studies out there showing that too. We're just not ready for that.
No,
So,
yeah, I am not either.
yeah.
We already have WebMD that tells me all sorts of
All
crazy
right. You hear
to
that
put my
every
head
day.
in. So I'm like, that's enough.
Google told me this.
Yep, yep.
And before you know it, you have cancer and all these other conditions and
Right.
whatnot.
You're gonna lose a leg
Yeah.
or you have a head cold. One of the two. So
Right. Yep. That's great. So, with the demands on healthcare administrators, what leadership qualities do you think are most critical for success in the next decade?
I think being keenly aware of what you know and what you don't know and surrounding yourself with competent, supportive, trustworthy leadership team, especially in private practice, all of the titles are rolled up into one. And sometimes you can fall into the bucket of I'm responsible for everything. And good leaders have their hand a little bit in everything, but I know I'm not the smartest when it comes to revenue cycle, but I know enough that when my managers or my leaders hit a snag, I know how to help them out of it.
Mhm.
I'm not the clinical expert by any means, but I know enough that when they hit something or we have a problem, I know
Mhm.
enough to help them solve it. And just making sure that you're taking away the roadblocks, they have the ability to make changes. And when they accidentally go left or go backwards is usually how it happens. It's okay to make a mistake, to support them and push them forward again. Like, yep, I hear you, but we're going forward. We're not doing paper charts. We're putting it in the EHR system.
Mhm.
And so I think it's a really important skill to know what your expertise is and then surround yourself with people that fill the gaps. And
Right.
I think that's just good for any leader is just, this is what I'm good at. I got this part, but I need other experts in these other things. And how can I help you be a leader next to me versus under me?
That's harnessing the power of others right there. So speaking of power and all that, we ask one question to every guest, and the same question every guest. We ask one at the beginning, of course, which changes, but then this one's the same. So if
Okay.
you give every patient one superpower, a piece of advice to optimize their health and transform their life, what would it be and why?
Don't put it on the back burner. I wish everyone was more keenly aware when their body starts doing something that they're not used to.
Mhm.
And I guess if I give a superpower to everybody else, like that, no other barriers would be in the way. Like you would have access to what you need right then. But I know that's a problem. But
Yeah.
I just think that people, we sometimes skirt our changes a little longer than we should have. And
Mhm.
we're like, oh, put up with it. I think we all try to be superheroes and have superpowers of like, oh, my knee's starting to hurt, but I must have just tweaked it. We're good.
Mhm.
And you wait a little bit longer, but we could have taken care of it earlier, or I'm starting to not feel right, but it must be just something else. I think that's just as a culture, we're like, I'm good,
Yeah.
as opposed to just check it out, make sure you're good. And it's funny when I work at the front desk and I check patients in, they always seem to apologize in a way that's like, I don't know if it's anything. It's been hurting. It's not getting better. They feel
Mhm.
bad. And I'm like, no, we want to check it out. That's a good thing that
You're
you're
at the
here.
right place. Yeah. You're at the right.
Yeah, I've heard it in other places, like, people are like, "I'm not sure if it's an issue, I don't wanna inconvenience you." And
Mm.
I'm like, "No, like, you know yourself, and it's
Mhm.
okay to come just to make sure it's okay." So that's the superpower I wish every patient had, is they just felt more confident in knowing their own body and knowing when they needed to get it checked out.
Yeah. Sounds that's the intersection there between reactive and proactive care, right? If you're on the side of the reactive side too much, sometimes it's too late or it's a lot harder and the treatments are a lot more cumbersome or comprehensive. But on the proactive side, you're catching it upstream and you're really trying to treat it. And it tends to be a little bit easy for you as a patient.
Yeah, and I've never met a provider that made a patient feel bad about getting checked up just in case, right?
Mhm.
But for
Mhm.
some reason, as a culture, we're always like, I don't think it's anything. I don't know. It might be nothing. And then they feel bad that they went. And it's like, no, that's not the point. We're
Yeah.
checking, make sure we're good. So it's weird to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So anything else that you'd like to discuss today? Anything else that you want to share with the listener?
No, I just think in healthcare in general, healthcare leaders, I do think there's just a lot of shared knowledge we don't share
Mhm.
as often. I don't think we have as many opportunities to share things. And I think as a collective, we have the answers. We just have to get together and work together to get them to our patient.
Mhm.
So try to find as many opportunities to get information from others and to give them what you know. So don't think your little tips and tricks aren't important. So
Sure. Well said. Well said. So, Nichole, where can listeners find you? If they're listening today and they want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest way to find me. Nichole Alley is the handle. So definitely there. Or they can find me at Orthopedic, the website. You click on there. There's an email there that can reach out right to me as well.
That's great. Well, thank you for joining us today, Nichole. Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate it.
Yeah. So that's a wrap for today's episode of Optimize, where we empower providers to enhance patient care. We appreciate you joining us as we explore the innovative ways to improve patient outcomes through lifestyle health. If you found today's discussion valuable, please be sure to subscribe, share this with your colleagues, leave a review. It helps us to continue delivering content that supports you in your practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this optimized podcast episode from Prescribe Fit. Make sure you never miss an episode by following the Optimized podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. If there are any topics or guests you'd like to hear on our show, email your suggestions to optimized@prescribefit.com. And to learn more about Prescribe Fit's virtual lifestyle coaching and remote patient monitoring program, visit prescribefit.com.